We are ready to go. Welcome everybody. Thank you for your patience. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you again on behalf of everyone at Benemérita Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speakers today, Silvia Ruth and Ricardo Agustin, who are going to share with us the research report titled Implementation of the Conversation Club as a Strategy for the Improvement of Oral Comprehension and Production in Students of Level B1 and above. Silvia Ruth Quirasco Gonzalez has a bachelor's degree in English language teaching and a master's degree in teaching with an emphasis in applied linguistics from Universidad Autónoma de Baja California. She currently teaches full-time at Benemérita Escuela Normal Urbana Federal Fronteriza in Mexicali, Baja California, and is studying for a doctorate in Educational Innovation and Network Society at Centro Regional de Formación Docente e Investigación Educativa. Ricardo Agustín Ceseña Cepeda has a bachelor's degree in languages teaching from Universidad Autónoma de Baja California. He's been a full-time teacher for 3 years at Benemérita Escuela Normal Urbana Federal Fronteriza in Mexicali, Mexico. I would like to remind everyone that we will have some minutes at the end of the talk for questions that you may have. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Silvia Ruth and Ricardo Agustin. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. As Alejandra said, my name is Ruth Quirasco and my partner is Ricardo Ceseña. Well, we both work at Benemérita Escuela Normal Urbana Federal Fronteriza in Mexicali, Baja California. And today we're going to talk about a project, a very special project we have in our school, which is the implementation of the Conversation Club as a strategy for the improvement of oral comprehension and production in students of level B1 and above. Next, please. Thank you. Well, as we know, in the year 2018, a new national plan for escuelas normales was implemented. And in this new plan, there was a series of 6 mandatory English courses for almost all the bachelor programs, except for 3 of them that only have three courses. And throughout these 6 courses, students gradually move from being basic users level to becoming independent users of the language. The curriculum guidelines suggest 3 ways of helping students who reach level B1 or higher with the initial diagnostic test in order to help them keep developing their English skills to become, well, proficient users of the language. And well, they have, or they suggest 3 things. The first one is the elective courses that cover, as we have in here, that cover more advanced levels of English. This is beyond the B1 plus that they should reach by the end of the 6 levels of English they study at Escuela Normal. Another option is the preparation courses for language teaching methodology. This is they can take courses so they can be ready to get a certification, let's say a TKT or TESOL certificate for teaching the language. And the last option is preparation courses to obtain a language proficiency certification. This is giving them courses so they can take a certification test such as TOEFL, IELTS, GUIDE, so they can get a higher certification in the language. Next, please. Okay, well, now these options sound very, very good, right? They are a very good proposal. However, as I said, we work in Escuela Normal near the border. And yes, thank you. The options I mentioned before sound really good. However, the range of elective course options for a state in Baja California in Escuelas Normales is limited. And that and other factors like the overlapping of schedules and the lack of English teachers to cover all the groups, well, haven't allowed students to be grouped by language proficiency levels. So every year in Benu, we receive a lot of students who already know English because of the location of our city. Mexicali is on the border with the state of California. So many of these students studied in a bilingual school here in the city, or maybe in the States, in the United States, they study there. They have family there, or even they were born in the United States and live there. What made them acquire the language acquire English as their first language, or learn the language in a very natural way. So when this happens, no, can you go back, please? All right, thank you. So when this happened, they arrived to our school and they face the fact that they have to study English from the very basic, and it's kind of frustrating or boring or maybe useless for them because they cannot be in their corresponding level. They have to start from level 1. And even though every teacher finds a way to include these students in their classes by maybe giving them the role of tutors or more advanced materials to work with, well, these practices become isolated efforts. So it would be great to have all these students together to help them develop their full potential. Now, next, please. Thank you. Well, and as everybody knows, a year ago, when all this pandemic situation caused by COVID-19 began, distance work presented many challenges to teaching and learning, making it more complicated to achieve the purposes set out on the study plans and the programs. This situation also, well, has generated discouragement and frustration in the school community, not only with students, but with teachers too. With all these things of the internet connection, the equipment, some teachers didn't even know a computer, so it became a little bit difficult for everybody. And so the barriers to learning, unfortunately, have multiplied in this year of non-face-to-face work. So we had to do something different. We had to do something that would lift our students' spirits and something that would motivate them a little bit more to keep on practicing, well, the language, and not seeing the English language as another subject they have to pass, let's say. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Ricardo Cesena, and I will continue with the presentation. One thing that we have to consider when we are planning our classes is that now in the with the launch of the 2018 program from the Secretaría de Educación is that we need to focus more on speaking. Yes, all of the abilities that help us to develop language, like writing, listening, and reading are important, yes, but we try to focus a little bit more now on speaking because it is the most immediate way that you communicate with a person. When a student has an interaction, what they expect from learning a language in a school is that they can produce orally. So they can communicate immediately when they go into a place where they will practice in real life. So we had to come up with ideas to develop this skill now that we are on confinement. So next, please. We started to research a little bit about what could we do here in our context to develop this skill to work with the students. So one of the ideas that was interesting for us, it was the language club. It is not a very common idea, apparently, to our research here in America or even in Europe. It is a more common practice in Asia or in Africa schools. So we try to translate that into our context, and we try to adapt it to our situation. And it was a very nice idea at first, because we don't need too much materials or any other stuff outside of what we already use on our online classes, because we only need a microphone or a computer, a tablet, a cell phone, and the attention of students. So it could work pretty well. So Next, please. So we started to talk about this idea with the rest of teachers from Benuf, and because we wanted to get as many good ideas as possible to make this a better project, and they liked it. Luckily for us, everything we do in our institution is for the betterment of our students. So keeping that in mind, they said it was an excellent idea, and after we got the go from the coordination of the English teachers in our institution, we started to create or to come up with the real purpose of this, like making it a little bit more formal. So we polish a little details here and there, and then we presented the idea to the principals of the institution. So they gladly say yes, because what we try to do is to offer more and more opportunities of development to our students. And this was an excellent idea from us for them. So uh, when they say yes to the proposition, we formalized finally the idea, and we put it on paper, and we turned it into the promotion department of school so the words could spread among all the students. Next, please. Now, something that is important to mention too is that at first, the idea of the Conversation Club workshop was to do it with students from level B1 or above of English proficiency. But some students from A2 or even A1 level were interested on the idea because they also want to develop this skill. As I mentioned before, all of the skills are important, but in the eyes of students, the basic one, the most important one, is communicating orally. So it was a very enticing idea for them to enroll on this workshop. Now, what do we do? How do we proceed with the conversation club now that we are already there on the task? Well, something that is important for us as teachers is that selection of topics. Students, according to themselves, want to talk about things that they like. I'm not saying that classes can be boring by themselves, but they want to be in an environment speaking to in a conversation that feels natural, like they are talking to friends, and they want to talk about what they want to talk, not something already pre-established by teachers. So they want to be free to select what they can talk about during the conversation clubs. But obviously, because we are trying to educate teachers that have also a social responsibility, we try to introduce topics that are relevant to their context, to the society, every now and then, and they accept it. They also innately consider that it is important to develop and to talk about these things. Just as an example, we were discussing last week about the results of the elections in our state, and it was a very interesting conversation. And then after a few minutes, we started conversating about what they wanted. Because it's also very important to give the students in our club. It's also very important to catch their interest, uh, to be able to not let's not say predict, but get in the moment what they want to talk about. As I said before, we select the topic at the next session every week. When we finish one session, we try to decide what we are going to talk about on the next meeting. So when we start talking about these topics, we try to follow like a certain path. And when if they deviate from this path to start talking about something else that is interesting to them, we let them be. We let the conversation flow all the time. We try to lose control from it, from the conversation. Yes, we are like moderators during the conversation club, but we gotta think that they are the on the center stage all the time as students. So we try to or make questions that keep the conversation going and not intervene so much with our opinion or with our experience. Even though it could be good, I personally prefer to let them be and to let them talk among each other. Sorry, and if the conversation comes to a like a dead point or if it stales a little bit because students are tired sometimes because the workload is too heavy and they don't know how to continue talking about something, we as teachers try to have an activity as a plan B so we can reanimate the room to activate them back to the mood of conversating because they have um, we have to remember that part of the success of this conversation club is that it is a fun activity. It's not something set in stone what we have to do every single conversation club. Next, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So, well, now that we worked with this conversation club, sorry, um, well, we decided to find what the learners really thought about this conversation club beyond their comments during these sessions, right? So we did this research and we followed this research path. First, we defined the subject. Well, the subject was that we wanted to know the opinion of students about this conversation club. We searched for literature, as Ricardo mentioned, and then we made it state of the art. We found a lot of information of conversation clubs, and as he mentioned, there is a lot of information published information about researchers in conversation clubs from Asia and Africa, and it was like amazing. Then we developed the research, and then we come up with some conclusions taking into consideration, well, our students' opinions. Next, please. Well, the methodology we used for this research was a quantitative methodology of exploratory scope. This is because it was the first time we had a conversation club in our school. It was the first time that a research in this area of English took place in our school. So the population in this research was 40 students from 2 bachelor programs. It was licenciatura en educación primaria and licenciatura en enseñanza y aprendizaje en educación secundaria. And it was very, very nice to see that in this research, all of them, they are 14 students in this conversation club, but all of them participated in the research and all of them collaborated by giving their opinion about this club. And while the instrument we used was an 18 item Likert type survey, which as we are working long distance, we had to provide them this instrument by using a Google form. You know these forms. So the answer, so we got the answers immediately, and it was very, very useful for us to find the result and to come up with conclusions in a short time.
So when we gathered our information, we started to analyze it. And as we mentioned before, students value freedom of the subject of matter. Like they want to select what they want to talk about during the conversation clubs. It is something, one of the strongest points that we have. Like it is not obligatory to them to be there. They don't feel obliged to be there. And it is something relaxing and a fun activity. It is not a regular class, and we don't want them to see it like that. And also, as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter if they are on a C1 or B1 or B2 or in any level of English proficiency. They want to develop a little bit more on their speaking skill. So it is a very good opportunity for all students from all the careers um, and all the levels to be on this workshop. And also, it is difficult for them. It is on their own words. It is difficult for them to be able to speak because of different reasons. Because they are afraid to to make mistakes. They feel embarrassed sometimes, or they just simply block when they are trying to speak and when they are trying to express their ideas. So giving them this opportunity to share and to practice more with students and and with teachers, it is very important. And something key came up here is that they feel more comfortable speaking to classmates because they don't feel observed all times, like evaluated. They're just talking with a regular friend, and they just want to have a good time while practicing the language. Next, please. And also, obviously, there is always in every project there is room for improvement. And some things that we discovered and that we think that we could get better at for the future of this conversation club is that we need to make a better promotion of this program, because not all students learned about it at first when we started working on the workshop. And as the semester continued, more people were asking for information, and they enrolled. Some of the students that started originally left because of workload and other situations that happened, but new students started to come when they got information about the workshop. And also, because of the students that are on A1 and A2 level of the of English, they requested for us to uh, talk a little bit slower every now and then, because yes, it is important for the higher level students to be in as real situation when talking to an English speaking person as possible. But for the lower level students, they want to develop a little bit more, and they sometimes can get like frustrated when they are not able to understand everything we say on the conversation club. And they also would like to have more varied activities like games, something more dynamic that makes them wake up and have fun on the conversation club. And also, when they run out of ideas, they would like to have this reservoir of information or topics to talk about during the conversation club, because sometimes they are just too tired to think by themselves about something new to talk about on the next session. And also, something really, really important that came up is the schedule. They want to be able to be on the conversation club during the school schedule, because they have other activities like work or personal activities that they cannot interrupt. So during the school schedule, it is easier for them to access to the conversation club. Next, please. And some of the references that we use for this presentation are this. If you are interested on more information about it, we can leave our contact information. And we would like to thank you very much for being here with us during this presentation. And we would like to hear if you have any questions for us, and we will gladly answer to them.
Yes, thank you. If you would like to ask some questions or make comments, you can use the thumbs up emoji to let us know and give you the mic. Okay. Yeah, we have a question in the chat box. Can you share an example of a topic?
Well, a topic. It ranges from a lot of things. For example, a few weeks ago, they wanted to do a show and tell activity. Like, okay, everybody had to bring a personal object that was very important to them, and they had to share the story behind that object. And it was an excellent idea because it made them happy and remember things that they liked. But for example, for the next conversation club, they wanted to talk about their favorite bands and musicians, and to share their likes with the rest of students. And a few weeks ago, they just wanted to talk about TV shows that are on air now, and it goes from A to the C on all the topics that they want to talk about.
Thank you so much. We have another question. This is from YouTube. It's from Jorge Rene Garcia. Why only using upper levels?
Because we wanted to talk faster, like having a conversation that will be normal on a real environment. Like people generally on a context that speakers are native are not going to slow down for you. So to develop to a higher level of English speaking proficiency, it is for us required to really speak in a regular pace like a native speaking person would do in real life. But as we learned, also students from lower levels were interested on the idea of the workshop. So we had to open our options and our minds to newcomers to the conversation club.
Thank you, Ricardo. We have time for one more question. If anyone would like to ask more, Gaby Peña has raised her hand.
Hello, everybody. I'm not sure if you mentioned how often were your sessions and for how long?
Okay, we didn't, but every week we have a session, pretty much always on Monday, unless we have some other activities regarding administrative work on school. We try to always keep it on the same schedule, so we try to be constant so the students get used to it. And how long? At least for 2 hours, but sometimes it goes longer. And as long as students want to keep talking, we continue with the conversation club because we don't want to cut off the flow of the conversation. If they are motivated to keep talking, we let them be.
And we have one final question. What is the procedure used to select the topics?
It is just a democratic procedure. Like when we finish the conversation club, the session of the week, we or I ask if they wanna share some ideas about topics they want to talk during the next session, and we have like a brainstorm of ideas, and then they vote for the one that they like the most. That's simple. It's nothing really complicated or too formal.
Thank you so much. That's about all the time we have for questions. I'm sorry, we need to continue so that we can keep up with the program. Thank you, Ruth and Ricardo, so much. Here at Benemérita en Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco, we'd like to present you with your certificate of participation, which reads as follows. De Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco, otorga la presente constancia a Silvia Ruth Quirasco González and Ricardo Agustín Ceseña Cepeda por su valiosa contribución como ponente del reporte de investigación Implementation of the Conversation Club as a Strategy for the Improvement of Oral Comprehension and Production in Students of Level B1 and Above, en el marco de Congreso Nacional de Formadores C en Escuelas Normales 2021. And please, everyone, well, I know that we're virtually. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you so much for your participation. And I'd like to remind everyone that according to our program, we are now starting the workshop presentations that you can find in your program. You just click on the link and enter. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.